Welcome back to the Birdhouse Dynasty Show, Week 4 recap. And we hit the jackpot on some rookie running backs finally. Ashton Genty, Marion Hampton, even Woody Marks getting into the mix. Travion Henderson into the end zone as well. Let's get right to the recaps in what was quite the wild week number 4. All right, we'll start off over in Ireland. For the first time, the NFL had action in Ireland, and we had the Minnesota Vikings and Pittsburgh Steelers taking on each other. And the game started off with a big boom. DK Metcalf with an 80-yard touchdown. And he finished the day with 5 for 126 and that touchdown on 5 targets. Kenneth Gainwell, though, the story. Jalen Warren with a late scratch in this game. And so Kenneth Gainwell gets the majority of the work for the Steelers in the backfield. You can see there 19 carries for 99 yards and 2 scores. Also added 6 catches for 35 yards. And so he finished with a strong fantasy day. If you were able to sneak him into your lineup late, early Sunday morning. Is that a oxymoron? Late, early Sunday morning? No, very early Sunday morning. Hopefully you got Jalen Warren out of your lineups if you were able to, and you didn't get burned on that one. Carson Wentz on the other side didn't look very good most of the day, but brought the Vikings back as the Steelers' offense got a little stagnant later. Wentz finishing with 350, 2 touchdowns and the 2 picks. Jordan Mason this week, not so much as last week, just 57 yards on the ground. Justin Jefferson did get 10 for 126, and Jordan Addison in his return had a big catch late to get the Vikings back into it, but it was a little too late for the Vikings. Addison finished with 4 catches for 114. So the Steelers move to 3-1 now in the AFC North division. They're up top waiting the Bengals and Broncos to play tonight to see if the Bengals can stay even with the Steelers in that division. The Vikings fall to 2-2 in the NFC North. Moving on to the next games. We'll get this one out of the way because it was too painful. The Bucks fall to the Eagles 31-25. Lots of fireworks here. I mean, at least for the Bucks, a couple of plays. Offensively, the Eagles looked pretty stagnant the second half. The game opened up with a block punt touchdown for the Eagles, and they jumped out to a big 24-6 lead in the first half. 2 touchdown passes to Dallas Goedert. And so you can see Jalen Hurts there finishing with just 130 yards and the 2 touchdowns through the air. He added 62 yards on the ground. Saquon did find the end zone on a fake tush push. They faked it up the middle and then sweeped it around the end for Saquon. But just 43 yards for him, 31 yards on 4 catches through the air. A.J. Brown, though, struggling to get. I mean, they had 9 targets to him, but just the quality, and can't imagine A.J. Brown's happy, but the team is 4-0, and so that is something that it makes it difficult for a team to switch things up. When you're 4-0 and you're winning, hopefully your players are happy about that, and that is enough for them. Now over to the Bucks side. Again, the slow start in the first half. Second half, they came out firing though. Lemke with a big 77-yard touchdown over two Eagles defenders, where they both kind of dove at the ball in the air and both missed somehow, went right through their arms into Ibuka's, and he walked into the end zone. Bucky Irving then added a 72-yard touchdown catch. So both Irving and Ibuka over 100 yards receiving. Baker Mayfield finishing with 289 and two touchdowns with one costly interception late. And the Bucks weren't able to score on their final possession either. The Eagles then ran out the clock by running through the back of the end zone. That's how they ended up with 25 points, because it was 31-23 is what should have been the final. I know that the spread was not 6 or 6.5. Yeah, 6.5. That would have been really a bad beat. On the 2-point safety would have changed things there. All right, moving along, because that one, again, painful loss. It was a big game. Congrats to the Eagles. Can't stand them, but, got to give credit where credit's due. I'm looking forward to playing them again this year. Yes, I very much so. I'm looking forward to that. All right. So, just be sure to hit that like and subscribe while you're watching if you haven't already. It's a big week 4. It was a long day yesterday with the early London game and then the Sunday night action. Let's hit that one up. Hopefully, I don't know if you were able to stay up for that one or not, but man, we had a scoregami on our hands here. 40-40 tie. Gross. Just gross. Like, it was like both teams, it was like neither team wanted to win. The defenses didn't want to win, and the offenses didn't want to lose until, overtime. Then overtime, Cowboys get down inside the 5, and they got to kick the field goal. The Packers come down the field, and they nearly run the clock out on themselves before kicking the game-tying field goal at the gun. Man. We had CeeDee Lamb out for the Cowboys, so George Pickens definitely stepped up his game. You can see here, 8 for 134 and 2 touchdowns for him. Romeo Doubs for the Packers outdoes him with 3 touchdowns on 6 catches for 58 yards. In the backfield, the running backs had decent games. Javonte Williams, 20 for 85 and a touchdown. Josh Jacobs went 22 for 86 and 2 touchdowns himself. Jordan Love, 337 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Dak Prescott, 319, 3 touchdowns and no picks. So you can see the defenses in what was, brought out as the Micah Parsons homecoming party here, and everybody was expecting the Packers to blow out the Cowboys. Didn't happen that way. It was a back and forth battle that just ended up leaving you a little empty. Like, what did I just watch here? Jake Ferguson also added 7 for 40 and a touchdown. Tucker Kraft, 5 for 56. Just short of a touchdown there. Matthew Golden had a big catch late in regulation. That was in overtime. It was on 4th and 6 to keep the drive going for the Packers. But again, game ends in a tie. Golden going 5 for 58 there. Try to see. Jacobs added 4 for 71 through the air. Not much else going on for the Cowboys receivers. It was Pickens and Ferguson. You had a mix of Tolbert, Turpin, and the rest. with CeeDee's absence. So if CeeDee's out again next week, expect the same kind of target share for Pickens and Ferguson going forward for that game. All right. So the Packers moved to 2-1-1, and Dallas to 1-2-1. Gross. All right, gross. Then we head to New York, and we had our big Jackson Dart debut week. Big excitement for the Giants there. Now, it was interesting. I mentioned that it was sort of a stroke of genius. A lot of people thought that, myself included, that week 5 would be the first start for Jackson Dart, where they're visiting New Orleans. A little bit of a weaker opponent, maybe. Give him a layup to start with. But no, Brian Daboll threw him right out there against the Chargers, the 3-0 Chargers, and he did not disappoint. Jackson Dart led him right down the field, ran in a touchdown, 15-yard touchdown, finished with 54 yards on the ground on 10 carries. But through the air was where the story is, as Malik Neighbors went down with a knee injury, and pending official results, it appears that it's a torn ACL. So that's huge for the rest of the season for the Giants. Now Jackson Dart is going to have to rely on Wan'Dale Robinson, Darius Slayton, Theo Johnson, etc., and the running game, which the running game definitely has some hope here. Scattaboo having a solid game. Not great average, but he did the job. 25 carries for 79 yards. Scattaboo added 2 catches for 11 yards through the air. Now over to the Chargers, and this was Omarion Hampton's rookie coming out party. 12 carries, 128 yards, scored on a 54-yard touchdown run. He also added 5 catches for 37 yards through the air. And then Quentin Johnston continues his just wake-up party here. Like, we all left him for dead. And Quentin Johnston, no siree. 8 catches, 98 yards, and a touchdown on 13 targets. Keenan Allen, 5 for 37 on 7 targets. And then Ladd McConkey. 6 targets, but just 1 catch for 11 yards. So what are we doing here with the Chargers receiver room? Has Quentin Johnston, officially taken over? I don't know, but I think you're almost hard-pressed to trade Ladd McConkey for Quentin Johnston straight up right now. Now, Keenan Allen coming into the mix there in LA has definitely changed up the target distribution. I think in the sense of who's getting the main underneath targets, it's Keenan Allen, and then that's him and Ladd running over the middle has opened things up tremendously for Quentin Johnston so far this year. So we'll see how teams try to adjust to the Chargers offense. Obviously, the Giants were able to do so in limited enough fashion. They did have to get 2 interceptions on Justin Herbert. Herbert just with a terrible day all around, really. Just 203 yards, the one touchdown to Johnston, but 2 bad interceptions that definitely cost the Chargers this one. So the Chargers fall from the undefeated ranks, and the Giants move up from the defeated ranks. So a wild one there. Glad I did not put my survivor pick on the Chargers. All right, let's move over to... Actually, we just talked about Hampton. Let's hit up the Bears-Raiders game and Ashton Genty's coming out party. The rookie running back struggling mightily through the first 3 weeks. He literally had 146 yards after contact, but only 144 total yards. Yes, I'll say that again. Coming into this game, he had 146 yards after contact, but only 144 total yards. So that means that he literally had been running for his life. Now, if we scroll down here, we see Genty went 21 carries, 138 yards, and a touchdown on the ground, the big 64-yard rumble. And then he also added 2 catches that were both touchdowns through the air, 2 for 17 for Genty. Brock Bowers just 5 for 46 this week. And Jacoby Myers just 4 for 30. So Genty was the main story here for the Raiders offense. Geno Smith, an up and down day, just 117 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 3 picks on the day. Just a gross one here. The Bears pull it out, though, with the late drive, getting the touchdown. Caleb Williams leading him on that drive. The numbers don't look amazing, but he did get the victory, which was the 800th, I believe, in Bears history. And DeAndre Swift got the go-ahead touchdown there. Swift, though, finished just with 38 yards and the score. Roma Dunze, though, keeps his hot ways going, 4 for 69 and a touchdown. So all those Rome believers this offseason that he would become the number 1 in Chicago, well, it has come true. DJ Moore just finishing 4 for 38 on the day, and Luther Burden can't follow up his impressive game from last week. Just 2 catches and, negative 4 yards there. But Caleb gets the win. Bears are saved by a blocked field goal on the last play there. So Bears move to 2-2. Raiders fall to 1-3. All right, we'll check out the Commanders visiting the Falcons. Commanders, of course, without Jaden Daniels, so Marcus Mariota gets the start. Mariota with an okay afternoon. Didn't get the win. 16-27 for 156, 2 touchdowns, and the pick. Chris Rodriguez leading the backfield here in what's become a game of musical chairs in the Commanders' backfield. Rodriguez with 59 yards, Bill with 47 yards, and then Jeremy McNichols, who had a big run last week, just 2 carries for 3 yards. Deebo Samuel getting the touchdown, 6 for 72 in game where Terry McLaurin sat this one out with the quad injury. Not sure yet if he'll be having surgery on that. Luke McCaffrey did get into the end zone as well. Zach Ertz with a quiet day, 2 for 21 there. Over to the Falcon side of things, and Michael Penix with a bounce-back day. Bijan with a big boom week. The Falcons' offense was humming. Penix finishing the day, 313 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. The touchdowns to Drake London and Pitts. Pitts finishing 5 for 70 through the air. Drake London 8 for 110 on 10 targets. And then Bijan got up over 100 yards as well on 4 catches for 106 yards, and then added 75 yards and a touchdown on the ground. Tyler Algier also snuck into the end zone as well. He finished with 51 yards and a touchdown. But yeah, the story here definitely Bijan Robinson. Bijan with 181 total yards and the touchdown on the ground. So good to see Penix bounce back. He had, after a decent performance against the Bucks, he didn't look great against the Vikings, and then last week looked atrocious and had gotten benched in the fourth quarter for Kirk Cousins, but looks like it's back to being okay there in Atlanta for Mr. Penix. All right, we'll get through this Buffalo-New Orleans game. I'm guessing this was a lot of people's eliminator picks if they still had the Bills. But the Bills came out on top 31-19 over the Saints. Josh Allen, 209 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. He had added a touchdown and 45 yards on the ground. James Cook with 117 yards on 22 carries and a touchdown. Khalil Shakir getting a 43-yard touchdown on from Allen. One of those touchdowns, the other one went to Dalton Kincaid on his only catch of the day, a 28-yarder there. Keon Coleman with a quiet afternoon, just 3 for 45. Over to the Saints. Yeah, well, Spencer Rattler just 126 yards through the air, and the lone touchdown to Chris Olave, who finished 3 for 20 on the day. Rashid Shaheed went 4 for 47, and then Alvin Kamara scraped out 70 yards on the ground. Kamara's been a little frustrating this year. I don't know if it's something you want to buy low on, but he just hasn't really been getting the check down passes from Spencer Rattler, and I don't know if that's necessarily by design from Kellen Moore, that he's trying to get Rattler to push the ball down the field to open the offense up. But yeah, so far nothing really rolling right here in New Orleans. I mean, neither receiver did anything special. Juwan Johnson just 3 for 28 today. So in spite the Saints keeping things somewhat close here, I don't know that they're taking home a moral victory here. I guess they could. They're struggling this season. They're looking for that number 1 pick, I think. We'll head over to Detroit now, where the Browns, following their victory over the Packers last week, get to take on another NFC North opponent, this time in Detroit, to take on the Lions. Now, the Lions did not mess around. Jared Goff, 2 touchdowns on the day. Jahmyr Gibbs, 91 yards and a score on the ground. And then Amon-Ra St. Brown keeping his hot game up. He got both touchdown catches from Goff, finished 7 for 70, and the 2 touchdowns there. Over to the Brown side of things, Quinshon Judkins keeping it going, 82 yards and a touchdown on the ground, the lone bright spot for the Browns offense. Joe Flacco with an atrocious afternoon. We'll see how long he stays as the signal caller, with the Browns just 1-3 now, I believe. Yeah. It's hard to say, hard to reason with keeping them in there too much longer. They should probably take a look at Gabriel or Shedeur Sanders here soon. I think Gabriel will get the first opportunity there. But yeah, Jerry Jeudy just 3 for 48. Isaiah Bond actually led the team in receiving yards, 3 for 58. Harold Fannin just 2 for 24, and David Njoku just 2 for 11 there. Hopefully you sold on David Montgomery. He only had 12 yards on the ground, because you're not going to sell him for anything this week. Jamison Williams added just 40 yards. So, yeah, it was really the Amon-Ra and Jahmyr Gibbs show for the Lions. And then Quinshon Judkins added to the party. Rookie running backs just going nuts this Sunday. So if you waited, you didn't panic sell on your rookie running backs, this was a big week for you. And we'll head over to Houston and check out Woody Marks busting out. You could see the snap share increase from about 10% to 25%, and then 48% last week. Then Woody Marks showing up now this week in the 26-0 shutout of the Titans. Woody Marks 69 yards and a touchdown on the ground. He also added a touchdown and 50 yards through the air. C.J. Stroud with a solid performance, 233 yards and 2 touchdowns. Nico Collins, 4 for 79. And then the rookie Jaden Higgins got into the end zone for the other touchdown pass from C.J. Stroud. Over to the Titans, and it was not a good day for Cam Ward. The number 1 pick, 10 of 26 for 108 yards and an interception for the rookie against this tough Texans D. Tony Pollard, 14 for 64 on the ground, but couldn't get anything going. Calvin Ridley, again, struggling mightily. Just 3 targets this time. The last few weeks, he had a lot of targets and not many catches. This time it was just not many targets and not many catches. 2 for 30 for Ridley. I don't know if I want to call him a buy low because I mean, if you go after him, you could get him probably for a third right now. Elikiah Manor, guess is the number one now. 2 for 44 on 7 targets. So if you go by targets, Aya Manor is looking like the guy here, but the Titans offensively just really absolutely nothing good to talk about there. All right. Then we'll check out the late slate. We had one of my sneaky favorite matchups this week, the Colts traveling to LA to take on the Rams. Daniel Jones, was it time for him to turn into a pumpkin? Well, he didn't look terrible, and had A.D. Mitchell not dropped the ball, switching hands going into the end zone on what was an amazing play up until the goal line. It was a 75-yard catch and run, spun around defenders, got to the goal line, tried switching it to his right hand to reach it in, and it fell right out and through the back of the end zone for a touchback. But that cost Daniel Jones a touchdown pass. Jones finished with 262, just the one touchdown pass to Michael Pittman, but had 2 interceptions for Jones. Jonathan Taylor had a touchdown called back on a hold. It was like a 50-yard touchdown run, but finished with 76 yards on the day. Tyler Warren added a touchdown that was considered not a pass, so it was a little shovel. They called it a run, so he added 2 carries for 3 yards and the touchdown on the ground. So Daniel Jones kind of getting screwed out of 2 touchdowns actually on the day. But the one definitely cost the team with Mitchell's fumble through the end zone. Pittman finishing 5 for 41 on the day. Tyler Warren had 5 for 70 through the air. Josh Dowds is kind of seeming like the guy. I don't know. I don't want to say, because Jones has been spreading the ball around pretty well between Pittman and Warren. Downs is getting some targets, but he's definitely not Daniel Jones' favorite. We'll just put it that way. So I don't know if you want to buy low on Josh Downs. I don't know what kind of juice he'll have the rest of the season. If we really should be expecting big things from him, I don't know. The Colts offense is doing pretty well in general, so it's hard to say that. Now, over to the Rams, Matthew Stafford, have a day. 375 yards, 3 touchdowns, 170 of those yards to Puka Nacua on 13 catches from 15 targets. So 15 out of the 41 attempts went to Nacua. He continues his monster domination. Looking for the Triple Crown. He did get into the end zone there. Devontae Adams also getting into the end zone, 4 for 56, and then the other touchdown was just a bomb to Tutu Atwell, an 88-yarder for Stafford. So monster game for Stafford there. Kyron Williams added 77 yards on the ground and 3 for 17 through the air. So big win for the Rams in what was a solid matchup here. Both teams were 3-0. Or sorry, no, the Rams weren't. They were coming back from that second half collapse against the Eagles last week. So they improved themselves to 3-1, which now draws them even with the San Francisco 49ers in the NFC West. Niners come home and lay an egg against the Jacksonville Jaguars, who improved to 3-1. So Trevor Lawrence hasn't looked great, but did enough this week to get the win. So, say what you will about the Liam Cohen offense and the struggles of T-Law getting the ball to Brian Thomas, and Travis Hunter there, 3 for 42, Brian Thomas 5 for 49. Travis Etienne, the name here, a 48-yard touchdown, finished 19 carries for 124 yards, and the touchdown for the Jaguars. Over to the Niners, Brock Purdy made his return from that toe injury, Finished with 309 yards and 2 touchdowns, but had 2 costly interceptions. McCaffrey with just 49 yards on the ground, but added 6 for 92 and a touchdown through the air. The other touchdown going to Jake Tongs, who's stepped up in George Kittle's absence. Tongs going 3 for 58, very Kittle-like with the touchdown. Now, Ricky Pearsall, something to check out the injury for. He had a knee injury that he left the game. Be sure to follow up on that with Pearsall. He finished just 4 for 46 on the day. Juwan Jennings only 2 for 24 today as well. All right, just a couple more late games to go over. We do have the double header tonight. We get the Jets at the Dolphins, and then about an hour later, we'll have the Bengals visiting the Broncos, who are just 1-2. They need a win big time. Talk about teams that needing a win. We had the Ravens traveling to the Chiefs, in what looked like the game of the week before the season, but now both teams were 1-2, and Ravens forgot there was a game because they did not show up at all. Lamar Jackson, ugly day, 147 yards on the 147 yards through the air with a touchdown and an interception. Derrick Henry struggled, just 8 for 42. I don't want to say he struggled. I mean, he had a 5.3 yard average on the ground. He just was kind of game script written out of the second half there for Henry. Lamar added 6 for 48, but did have a calf, I believe it was a calf injury, and so that's something to monitor for the rest of this upcoming week. Heading into week 5, Cooper Rush had to replace him. Rush went 9 for 13 for 52 yards. Zay Flowers continuing his good stats, 7 for 74 on 8 targets. Mark Andrews adding 7 catches, but just for 30 yards there for the Ravens. Justice Hill getting into the end zone, having a sneaky good day there. If he had him in best ball, that would have been fine. He went over 100 total yards today. Now for the Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes stepping it up. 270 yards, 4 touchdowns, no picks on the day. Distributing the ball very evenly and well without Rashee Rice. Xavier Worthy went 5 for 83. Kelsey 5 for 48. Hollywood Brown getting into the end zone. Juju Smith-Schuster getting into the end zone. Pacheco and Tyquan Thornton getting the touchdown catches. On the ground, really spread out here. Worthy actually led the team on the ground on a couple of end arounds. He ended up with 38 yards. Pacheco just 7 for 35. And Kareem Hunt had 13 for 34. Brashard Smith got into the action a little here too. 4 for 9 on the ground, and then added 3 for 27 through the air. So very evenly distributed game. Mahomes was the main guy to have here for the Chiefs. Worthy had a decent game, but without the touchdown, wasn't too much of a boom game really for him. But yeah, the Ravens struggling offensively. Got Likely back this week, but what did he even? Yeah, he didn't even have a target on the day. So, we'll see what. We got to check Lamar's health going into next week. And we'll see there if they give us an update soon on his injury. Then we'll find out if he'll be available for next week. Got killed in fantasy this week. Neighbors and CD out now. I'm cooked. Yeah, that is a tough one. You'll get CD back in a week or two, but the Malik Neighbors injury, that's tough to overcome. If it was, especially in Dynasty, this is, if you're a contender, now you could look to flip Neighbors for maybe like Roma Dunze, something like that if you wanted to. Um, I don't know. It all depends on the Roma owner and other owners in your league who actually have receivers available for you if you wanted to look to try and flip Neighbors to stay in contention. Now, if you were not contending, this kind of sets the roadmap for you for the rest of the season. Now you can flip into a rebuild and not worry about it too much. That you know, because Neighbors isn't going to get any points against you that way. Yeah, but it was a rough week all around for a lot of people this week. There were some, yeah, the Neighbors injury, Lamar gets hurt, um, so some bad performances, but then you had some big booms as well. The rookie running backs, Ashton Genty, 3 touchdowns. Omarion Hampton over 100 yards and the big long touchdown. Woody Marks over 100 total yards. Judkins getting into the end zone. So the rookie running backs, as long as you held out on them, now you're seeing what you paid for with your rookie picks. Hopefully you didn't bail on them last week. This is just a lesson to be learned in staying patient with these rookies. All right. Uh, Now, if you want to sell them now you might be able to. I don't know that I'd be getting out on Genty just because he had 3 rough weeks going into this one, and now he had 1 big game. Granted, it was against the Bears defense, but you know, this is what the Raiders wanted as their identity, or Pete Carroll at least did. Obviously, he wanted to come out with the victory, and had they made the field goal at the end, they would have. But yeah, I'm very excited to see that the rookie running backs finally showed up. Travion Henderson, I didn't mention. Actually, I don't think I went over that game. Let me go back. I apologize. I missed one. Yep, there it is. New England and Carolina. And Carolina forgot to show up here. But yeah, Drake May had a solid game, 203 yards and 2 touchdowns. Travion Henderson got into the end zone. So did Antonio Gibson and Drake May on the ground. Stephon Diggs stepped it up. So finally, somebody in the receiver room of the wide receivers, at least, for New England. Stephon Diggs, 6 for 101 on 7 targets. Hunter Henry, just 2 targets, but caught both of them for 39 yards and got into the end zone. That's my boy, Hunter. Over to the Panthers, and yeah, gross day here for the Panthers. Chuba Hubbard, 49 yards on the ground, 3 for 20 through the air. Ted McMillan, 4 for 62 through the air, so okay there. But yeah, their 2 touchdowns came from their backup tight ends. Tommy Tremble getting into the action, rolling into the end zone, 5 for 42 on Tremble. I'm sure he'll be a waiver ad for some. I don't know that somebody had to step up there with the JT Sanders injury. He'll be out for another couple weeks, I believe. So, yeah, Tremble actually isn't maybe that bad if you're desperate of a play next week. But Mitchell Evans, the rookie, also got into the end zone there. All right. Apologize. Don't want to leave out the New England faithful. But just thought of it. It came when I was talking about the rookie running backs. That Travion Henderson did get into the end zone. That was good to see. Now tonight, for a little preview, we'll have R.J. Harvey. We'll see if he can step it up. The Broncos need a big bounce back here. They don't want to fall to 1-3, and fall behind too far in the AFC West. The Chargers lost, so they need a win. The Bengals looking to survive without Joe Burrow tonight, for the next foreseeable future, at least. I don't know if he'll return this year. We'll see. The initial report was that he could be back sometime in December, so we'll see there. But in the meantime, it is on with Jake Browning, and yeah, we'll see how they do tonight in what should be a big matchup. It'll be a fun one seeing Jamar Chase and T. Higgins go up against those Broncos defensive backs. So looking forward to that one. The Jets-Miami game, well, it's a divisional one. And there's some fantasy relevant guys going tonight. Devon Achane, Garrett Wilson, you got Justin Fields back in, Tyreek Hill. So plenty of guys going tonight, trying to help guys seal victories. We'll see you later with the action. Thanks for joining us tonight. And remember to never stop working.